A little over 1 million students reporting to class this morning across New Jersey, and along with them, more than 116,000 teachers. More than half of the districts will be doing a hybrid learning model, despite requests from the state's Education Association requesting an all-remote start to the new school year. Sean Spiller serves as the vice president of the New Jersey Education Association. He's also the mayor of Montclair. He joins us this morning with more. Mr. Sean Miller, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So your organization wanted to go all remote, not only because of the pandemic, but also because of a shortage of teachers that we're hearing about. How is that shortage actually being managed since some schools are reopening?
That's a great question. And I think the two are obviously linked together. And I think problematic, right? One of the reasons we've called for a remote start to the year, a robust distance teaching and learning experience, is because we knew that there are many educators who have compromised immune systems or are in risk categories or have family members who are and are rightfully concerned about their own health and, of course, concerned about their students' health. And in that dynamic, it leads to a situation where districts are having a difficult time staffing the buildings for what they need and looking elsewhere. How that's working out, I know district by district, they're trying different things, but I think we're probably missing the bigger piece. If you can't get enough staff into the building because they don't think it's safe, there's probably a problem.
Yeah, I mean, my father is an educator in New Jersey. He's part of that, and he is going through the same thing right now. So there are 600 school districts across New Jersey, right? Each one doing things a little differently, which I guess is making it harder for standardized safety protocols to be followed. Like somewhere in like New York City, it's one model. So what steps are being taken to ensure the safety of the students and teachers in each individual school?
My goodness, therein lies the problem, right? And I think rightfully so. There's been a lot of criticism we've seen from the national response in terms of, hey, states, you're on your own to figure this out. Well, unfortunately, here in Jersey, each of our districts has kind of been left to figure this out. You know, that means securing PPE. That means getting the dollars for devices they need and other pieces, trying to distribute those. You know, all the different things that you look for a little more not only stability but guidance from, I think, are lacking in some ways. And I think that's part of the problem. We see some districts that have done more, some districts that have done less. You noted how many there are. It's just so many different plans that it's a challenge. It's a challenge for the state, I'm sure, to track and see who's doing it well, who's not. And certainly it's a challenge for our members.
So let's take a look at some individual school districts. For example, Paterson, right? It's the largest in the state, just had its reopening plan approved last week. A lot of other districts, though, across the state haven't had their reopening plans approved. I mean, we're in it now, but they're still expected to start classes today. So without those plans being approved, are they putting teachers and students in danger?
Look, I think we've said right from the start, this is the very reason why we need to start remotely. And remember, this is coming from educators who want nothing more than to be with our students, to give them the very best education we can. We've got the #1 schools in the nation for a reason. But we also have to understand that we cannot put an arbitrary date where we've got to return ahead of a pandemic, a virus, and students and staff.
So who do you bring those concerns to? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but who do you bring those concerns to? You know, in New York City, for example, the teachers threatened to go on strike if they didn't get some of what they wanted passed. So who do you bring those concerns to?
Well, I think here it's everybody, right? Because there's a local control. So a lot of our Board of Educations, our educators in these districts are bringing their concerns there. It's concerns that are brought to the Department of Education and certainly to the governor as well. You know, every level that we can, we've been bringing these concerns through educators at all levels and community members as well. Parents are with us lockstep in this, saying, look, we also want to send our kids back. We've got dynamics that we can't deal with in terms of returning to work. We know how challenging these things are. But when you look at the safety, when you look at the health, they're as caught up in this as we are, trying to find a safe way to do this, but worried about their students' safety and health. And that's what we are as well.
So let me ask you this. For those folks who are headed back to school in person, what about testing for teachers and students? Is it required? Is it mandatory? Is it voluntary?
Yeah, I mean, again, let's look at all the different plans, right, and see what we have. But, you know, what we're looking at right now is we know still a shortage of tests, trying to get people tested to come back is a challenge. Then you look at the situation of once you're back, we know that the test is only good the moment you took it. What happens the next day, the day after? How often are you going to test? What size groups are you going to test? What are you going to do in these protocols? There's some suggested guidance from the state, but our district's going to follow some of that. I think those are all questions that still remain unanswered.
So it's individual. You keep repeating that over and over again. So if a teacher has a pre-existing condition, right? They don't feel comfortable going back into the classroom and they say, hey, I want to stay home. I want to do remote learning. Does the teacher keep their job? Are they at risk of losing their job?
Yeah, they're at risk. I mean, what happens now is under the law right now, they have a portion of leave they're allowed to take. And once that leave is expired, then it's a conversation with the district and we see how this moves forward. So I think that's part of the challenge is districts are reviewing these cases. They're making these decisions. And we have members that don't feel comfortable with that and certainly will not feel comfortable when that time runs out and they're required to head back.
And real quick, only a few seconds left. You're also the mayor of Montclair. What's Montclair doing?
Right now, we went back virtually, which I think was the right decision, providing the best education we can for our students. And then when the virus dictates and the buildings and the staffing and everything else that we can get a hold of dictates that we can go back, we will.
Mr. Spiller, I think I said Miller earlier. Sean Spiller, mayor of Montclair, New Jersey. We'll have you back because the conversation of real estate and what's going on in your town and how prices are through the roof, that's a conversation for a different day. So you're welcome back to talk about that, right? Hey, thank you for your time on this very important topic of education.
Appreciate it.